It's 2 a.m. The lights are out, and you hear it. The unmistakable sound of a sleep talker confessing their crush's name. The whole room freezes. Giggles are smothered behind pillows. You can feel the awkwardness radiating through the dark like heat. This isn't just some embarrassing moment. It's a core memory in the making. A secret that is going to be whispered about for years. We've all been there, the awkward, hilarious, and just plain mortifying moments that only happen at sleepovers when everyone's supposed to be asleep. It's that weird time between the late-night sugar rush and the morning cleanup where our real, embarrassing selves come out to play. Today, we're talking about the most cringe-worthy sleepover moments that go down after the lights go out. From awkward confessions and mortifying accidents to pranks that went way, way too far. You'll find out what really happens in the dark. We all have stories. And today, we're sharing some of the wildest ones. So grab your sleeping bag, pretend you're asleep, and let's get into it. Section 1. The Bathroom Betrayals. Alright, let us start with a category of embarrassment so universal it deserves its own special place of honor. The bathroom betrayals. This is the stuff of nightmares. The kind of thing that makes you want to move to a new town and change your name. Our first story is a classic. A true Hall of Famer in third grade mortification. Picture this. You're at your best friend's house for the sleepover of the year. You've played video games till your thumbs were sore, eaten enough pizza to turn into a pepperoni, and washed it all down with a soda the size of a fishbowl. Life is good. You and your friend finally crash, whispering secrets until you both drift off. Then comes the dream. That infamous, treacherous dream where you find a toilet. It's glorious, it's pristine, and in your dream-addled brain, it's the perfect time to relieve that gallon of soda. The sense of relief is immediate, until it's not. Slowly, you start to wake up. The blissful warmth from the dream feels alarmingly damp. A cold, creeping horror dawns as you realize the dream wasn't real, but the consequences absolutely are. You've wet the bed, your best friend's bed. Pure, unadulterated panic sets in. What do? Wake him up. Try to cover it. Use the sheer force of your will to evaporate the evidence. Before you can decide, you risk a slow, terrified peek. You crack open one eye, praying he's still asleep. He's not. Oh, he is very not asleep. In the faint glow of the nightlight, you see a silhouette. It's your friend. He's not in the bed with you. He is sitting bolt upright in a desk chair across the room, just staring. There's no anger, no laughter, just an intense, silent gaze that says, without a single word, I know what you did. The silence is deafening. That stare is a memory that will be burned into your brain for life. The friendship, needless to say, was never quite the same. There's just no coming back from the silent stare of judgment. Okay, that is a level of psychological warfare I was not prepared for from a third grader. The power move of getting out of bed, pulling up a chair, and just watching. That kid wasn't just a kid. He was a future CEO or a criminal mastermind. There is no in-between. Every time you see that person for the rest of your life, you'll just hear the silence and feel that stare. But what if you manage to create a symphony of bathroom-related disasters in one night? Our next story takes it to a whole new level. This one comes from a fourth grader who also succumbed to the dream band dampness disaster. They woke up in a puddle of their own making on their friend's bed. Instant mortification. But the story doesn't end there. In a state of pure panic, our hero knew they had to get up and deal with another urgent matter. They tiptoed to the bathroom, hoping to handle this second crisis quietly. But fate had other plans. They ended up clogging the toilet. Not just a minor clog. We're talking a catastrophic, no plunger can save you now situation. So, let us recap. They there wet the bed and created a bathroom situation that could qualify as a federal disaster. What does a panicked fourth grader do? Trito fix-it. Confess. And beg for mercy. Nope. This kid made a choice that is both insane and, honestly, a little iconic. They fled. Not just back to the bedroom. They went to the garage, found a dark corner, and hid. leaving behind a trail of destruction for the family to discover in the morning. I can only imagine the friend's mom finding the bed, then the bathroom, and then a small, shame-filled child hiding behind a lawnmower. There are no words. That's a story that follows you. A legend passed down through the family. You remember that time your friend created the great flood of the 4th grade and then became a garage goblin. You just have to own it at that point. And sometimes, the cover-up is almost as funny as the crime itself. One person shared a story of an accident on an air mattress. The next morning, the friend's mom came in, looked at the scene, and asked if a raccoon had broken into the house during the night. A raccoon. That is such a mum level of creative. It is so much less awkward to imagine a wild animal causing chaos than to confront the damp reality. And honestly, it's the kind of comment that, while absolutely mortifying, becomes a legendary family joke for years. Section 2. Awkward awakenings, sleepovers, are a vulnerable time. You're in an unfamiliar place. You're unconscious, and it's a recipe for bizarre encounters. This next set of stories is all about waking up to something so strange or so gross, you're not even sure if you're still dreaming. These are the awkward awakenings. Let's ease into this with a story that is equal parts gross and hilarious. You're at a sleepover, sacked out in a sleeping bag on the floor. Suddenly, you're aroused from your slumber by a strange sensation. It's wet, and it's moving. You slowly open your eyes, and that's when you see it. It's the host's golden retriever, who has decided that your mouth is the perfect place for a very, very slobbery good morning kiss. We're not talking a polite lick on the cheek. We're talking full-on, tongue in your mouth greeting. You wake up with a jolt, sputtering with the undeniable taste of dog breath. The dog, of course, is just wagging its tail, proud of its work. You look around, and your friends are starting to wake up, see what's happening, and just erupt in laughter. There's nothing you can do. You've been violated by a canine, and it's the funniest thing anyone has ever seen. You spend the rest of the morning frantically brushing your teeth, trying to forget that you basically made out with a golden retriever. But at least, that was an animal. Sometimes, it involves other humans, and the cringe gets dialed up to 11. This next story also takes place on a camping trip. A group of friends are all sleeping in a tent. In the middle of the night, one person wakes up. As their eyes adjust, they see movement. They realize it's their friend, and that friend is engaged in a very private moment. Complete and utter awkwardness descends. You're frozen. You're trapped in a tent with this. What's the protocol here? Pretend to be asleep. Clear your throat. This person, in a moment of what I can only describe as panicked generosity, decided to speak. They quietly said, "You can finish if you wanna." Can you even imagine the sheer, unadulterated cringe? The friend's response was, understandably, a frustrated whisper. "No. You ruined it." The tension in that tent must have been unbelievable. The next morning, you don't talk about it. You just pack up the tent, avoid eye contact, and that unspoken awkwardness becomes the new foundation of your friendship. "You can finish if you wanna" is a sentence that can never be unsaid. It just hangs in the air between you for eternity. But maybe the most dramatic awakening is one you don't even remember. I'm talking about the sleepwalkers. Sleepwalkers are the chaotic wild cards of any sleepover. This story is about a 7-year-old sleepwalker at a friend's house. In the middle of the night, she gets up and wanders into an unfamiliar room, ending up behind a tall, heavy bureau. Waking up suddenly in a dark, enclosed space, she panics. Her only thought is to escape. So she starts pushing against the giant piece of furniture, which happens to be filled with the family's fine china and glassware. With a surge of adrenaline-fueled, 7-year-old strength, the bureau teeters, and then comes crashing down with a sound that could wake the dead. A catastrophic explosion of breaking glass and splintering wood at 4 in the morning. The entire house jolts awake, tinkante-ree, in the middle of an earthquake. They rush in to find a small, bewildered 7-year-old girl standing amidst the glittering wreckage of their most prized possessions. How do you even begin to explain that? "Sorry I destroyed your family heirlooms. I was dreaming I was a bulldozer. This isn't just an awkward awakening. It's a legendary tale of destruction. You don't just live that down. You become a folk hero of sleepover disasters. Okay, we have to pause. From dogs with no boundaries to the unintentional destruction of property, these stories are absolutely wild. If you're cringing, laughing, or just feeling relieved this hasn't happened to you, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you have a sleepover story that can top these, you have to let me know. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because believe me, it gets even more awkward. Section 3. When good pranks go bad. Alright, let's talk about a cornerstone of sleepover culture. The prank. A well-executed prank is a thing of beauty. But we're not here to talk about those. We're here to talk about the misguided. What were you thinking? Pranks that don't end in laughter, but in friendship-ending awkwardness. Our first exhibit is a cautionary tale about why you should never, ever involve bodily fluids in your humor. At a sleepover, one guy, let's call him Derek, thought he had a brilliant idea. His friend, Jake, was sound asleep. Derek decided it would be hilarious to urinate on Jake's face while he was sleeping. Yes, you heard that right. Predictably, Jake did not wake up laughing. He woke up sputtering, horrified as he realized what had happened. He freaked out, and who can blame him? The birthday boy, Derek, was still trying to play it off as a joke. Jake was not amused. He immediately packed his stuff and walked out. The other friends at the party were just as appalled. By the time their parents picked them up, the verdict was in. Derek lost 4 friends that night. And, honestly, good. There's a line, and Derek didn't just cross it. He pole vaulted over it into social oblivion. That's not a prank. It's a lesson for the ages. If your prank idea involves urine, just go back to bed. But sometimes, you don't even have to be the prankster to suffer. This next story is a tragic case of mistaken identity. A group of friends were camping in a backyard tent. In the middle of the night, one person woke up because they had to pee. Desperately. Unable to find the zipper in a half-asleep stupor, they made a fateful decision. Pee through the mesh window of the tent. Now, anyone who's a 9-year-old with terrible aim in the dark knows the result is predictable. It wasn't a clean stream. It was, as the storyteller described it, a pretty thick layer of atomized urine all over everyone else in the tent. A fine mist of betrayal. But here's the turn. Another friend in the tent was awake and saw the whole thing happen. He said nothing. The next morning, when everyone woke up to the damp, smelly chaos, this friend, the secret witness, immediately pointed the finger at someone else. An innocent, sleeping victim. This poor kid was falsely accused of coating the entire tent in pee. Despite his protests, no one believed him. The real culprit stayed silent. The wrongly accused kid was ostracized and wasn't invited to another sleepover for months. That is cold. To not only witness the crime, but to let an innocent person take the fall. That's not just a bad friend. That's a future mob informant. And then there are the pranks. That aren't even pranks. Just moments of pure chaos. A group of boys and girls are at a co-ed sleepover. The lights have been out for about 10 minutes, when suddenly, a voice clearly and deeply says one word. What? But this wasn't a kid's voice. This was, and I quote, like hearing James Earl Jones say what? A deep, booming voice that had no business being there. Everyone freezes in absolute terror. After about 10 seconds of petrified silence, one of the girls bravely whispers, "Who said that?" More silence. Then, from the corner, a boy starts laughing uncontrollably. They flip on the lights, and this kid is on the floor, absolutely losing his mind. Finally, he calms down enough to explain. It wasn't a person. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't James Earl Jones. He had farted, and his fart had perfectly, miraculously, formed the word what. The sheer absurdity of it broke the tension, and the whole room erupted in laughter. It was a one-in-a-billion moment of biological comedy. It became such a legendary inside joke that, to this day, everyone from that party still answers phone calls from each other with what? That's not a prank gone wrong. That's a prank, divinely ordained by the universe. Section 4. The Parent Trap sleepovers aren't just about navigating friendships. They're also about navigating your friends' parents. When you're a guest, you're on their turf, subject to their rules and their occasional, deeply awkward behavior. This is the Parent Trap. Let's start with a classic. A group of kids, forbidden media, and a parent walking in at the worst possible moment. A group of 6th grade boys were having a sleepover. Once the parents were thought to be asleep, they huddled around the TV, watching something they definitely weren't supposed to be. Pornography. They're completely engrossed when suddenly they sense a presence. The friend's mother is standing in the doorway. Absolute panic. In a moment of unspoken hive mind genius, every single kid immediately pretended to be fast asleep. Just a room full of angels. The mom stood there for a moment, probably fully aware of what was happening, and then just quietly left. The subject was never, ever mentioned again. It's that unspoken agreement that makes it so perfect. She knew. They knew. She knew. But as long as nobody said anything, they could all pretend it never happened. That mom deserves an award for her restraint. The shame of her knowing is a punishment that lasts a lifetime. But sometimes, the encounters with parents are less awkward and more of a sudden, sobering dose of reality. Someone shared a story of being at a friend's house. A friend whose family seemed perfect, wealthy, beautiful home. Everything looked great. But that night, the illusion shattered. The storyteller went to get a glass of water late at night and heard voices. They saw their friend's father, who had come home drunk, pushing his wife against a wall and threatening her. The fear on the mother's face was something they'd never forget. They went back downstairs and never said a word. But it was a harsh lesson that perfect-looking families often have dark secrets. A sleepover suddenly became a window into the painful realities of adult life. And the discoveries aren't always so dramatic. Sometimes they are just weird. One person tells the story of being at a friend's birthday party. In the middle of the night, the friend's father left for his graveyard shift job. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Another man was there. The friend's mother let him in, then turned to the room full of 11-year-olds and told them not to say anything. Even at 11, they knew what was going on. The party atmosphere evaporated, replaced by a thick, uncomfortable silence. They were now accomplices in a secret they never asked for. You're just there to play video games, and suddenly you're a character in a low-budget soap opera. Happy birthday, kid. Your present is a lifetime of awkward silence. But my favorite story in this category is about a parent who saw a disaster and chose to be a hero. A 7-year-old girl was at a sleepover, waiting to use the bathroom. The inevitable happened. She lost control and peed her pants in the hallway. The shame was immediate. But the friend's mother, Mrs. A, saw the whole thing. She saw the tears welling up and, in a moment of sheer brilliance, shrieked, "Oh my gosh, a spider," and then accidentally threw her full glass of juice all over the little girl. She completely soaked her, creating a plausible excuse for the wet pants. Mrs. A quickly whisked the girl away to get changed, and her dignity was saved. The other guests never knew. That is next-level parenting. That's a secret agent of compassion. Shout out to all the Mrs. A's of the world. You are the real MVP. So, there you have it. The secret world of sleepovers after the lights go out. From bathroom disasters and pranks that shatter friendships, to parents who are either the source of the cringe or the heroes who save us from it. These moments, as mortifying as they feel, are a rite of passage. They're the stories that, years later, make us laugh and bond us together. What feels like the end of the world at 10 often becomes the best story you have to tell at 30. The common thread is that we all have a moment of sleepover embarrassment, which just proves how human we all are. And now, I have to turn it over to you. I know you're sitting on some golden stories. What is the most embarrassing, hilarious, or weirdest thing that ever happened to you at a sleepover after the lights went out? I want to hear it all. Drop your stories in the comments. Your story might even end up in a future video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay awkward.